Hello, folks. Well, the natives are getting restless. It's non-stop clouds and snowy weather here. And it's a shame because the dark sky time now is around 12 hours, from around 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., and I can't do any imaging. That's sad. And so what I've been doing over the past month is just looking for old data that maybe I could combine with new data and try and get a color images while I wait for better skies. And I tried to do it with my Horsehead. I had 5.5 hours of HA on the Horsehead Nebula, and maybe 3 hours or so of data from last year on the Horsehead. And the only problem was with the data is that I think I titled this video with different telescopes, combining data with different telescopes, something like that. Actually, I didn't come up with a title yet. But the problem is I'm actually using the same telescope, but this year I used a 0.8 reducer, so I have a different field of view between this year and last year. And let me show you what I'm talking about here. So this is what I captured this year. This is just HA. That's all I've managed to grab, about 5.5 hours of HA. And that's what I captured with HA last year. So you can see the field of view. It's a lot smaller. I'm closer in on the Horsehead with this one. There's no, I'm not using the reducer on the left, and so there's no flame, and that bright star is on the picture, which I don't mind. That star's a pain anyway. And I only had about 32 minutes of data in oxygen to try and add color to this whole thing. So even though it's the same telescope, I'm working with different field of views here, and I'm going to show you how to bring together data from different field of views, and it's actually a lot easier than I thought. I didn't really even have to change my steps barely. So let me show you what I'm doing here. So what I did first is I still use that batch pre-processing. That hasn't changed from a long time ago. So I'm not going to show you how to do that. I'll just post a link up here so you can go back and check out my old video. I probably even have more than one, or if this doesn't work up there, I'll post it in the description. And after you use that batch pre-processing to stack your data, if you look in the, I stack them separately. First, I stack my new data, and it created, I'm going to be using the data from the calibrated folder. And you'll see here, I'm going to click on light. I've got all of my data for the HA of this year. And for the old Horsehead data from last year, if I click on calibrated, you'll see all of my, let's see, my oxygen data there. All I've got is 32 minutes of data for oxygen, and all of my HA data. And the important thing with your old data is I saved my flats. If you want to make use of your old data, it's really important to save your flats, because if you want to, unless you save your calibrated frames, otherwise save off your flats data, because you're going to need it again. And if you didn't have your bias and your darks from back then, well, maybe you can get by with your latest darks and bias libraries. I found, I've tried that. It's okay. I think the data's good enough. So try that if you don't have your old bias and darks. And once you've done that, let's go back into PixInsight. So that was all batch pre-processing. If you already do that, then nothing there changes. Just stack your data separately. So you've got all your calibrated frames. All right, let's go back into PixInsight. Okay, now that I've stacked all of my data and I've got all of my calibrated frames, I'm going to go into my star align procedure here. I've already got values filled in. I'm just going to clear that. And I'm not actually going to drizzle the data. I don't need to do that. Drizzling is really good if you capturing a small object and you want to make your resolution twice as large without a loss in quality. That's when you'd want to drizzle the data. That's how I view it. But I'm not going to drizzle this data. I'm just going to do a straight star align. And this is the crazy part with star align, in that it actually scales the data from different telescopes or different field of views from the same telescope, it actually scales them all to the correct size. And I didn't know it performed that kind of magic. I had no idea. So, I mean, that my friend Doug is the one who told me about that because he had already been doing this before. And I think Jason told him about that. So there's always information circulating between us, although not much information really gets through to Jason that he doesn't already know. He's sort of the guru between us. But anyway, so let me show you how I would do this. Well, let me just show you here also. This is the star line I use, and these are the parameters I have set. And if I was doing drizzle data, if you wanted to pause the screen to look at all the parameters, I couldn't explain all of these parameters. If I tried, I wouldn't really know because I just copied them from somebody else. So there's that. And you can just pause this along the way where if you wanted to just see what I'm doing, or if you see something that I should be correcting, let me know. And there's that. And you can hit pause at this point if you want to copy this stuff down. Okay. And then there's that. So yeah, I'm not going to pretend. I don't know what all these means. I've never taken the time to go through it. I just do what I do. So let me show you. I'm going to assign an output folder. Let me go into my Horsehead, and we'll just say, we'll call this star line. All right. And now we're going to add all of the calibrated data. Where is my calibrated data? So we're going to go to the new Horsehead, take all of the calibrated. Now this is the data I captured this year. I'm going to highlight all of it. Now I'm going to go to the old data. It has my oxygen and my and the HA. Now we've got all of the data there. I'm not going to drizzle. And let's pick a file here. Now you can actually pick, I've tried it both ways. It works with either way. You can try from your old data or your new data. I'm going to go in the new data. I'm already familiar with some of the good data in here. And I'll pick 91. I remember that being a good frame to use. And that is it. It's gonna do the magic. Old and new data, different field of view. It's gonna scale everything to the same size. Let's hit this, and we are off. And I will come back when this is done. Okay, when the star alignment is done, that takes a while, by the way. I already had my star line finished from earlier, so I'm going to use that data, but I did the same thing with that data. So now we would go into the image integration. And I'll show you my settings again. We're not going to drizzle this time, so we're just going to turn that option off. I'll show you all my settings. That's clear that. That's from something previous. And I'll start with this one if you want to see all of the settings I use. And if you see a correction I need to make, feel free, so you can take a look at that and pause if you need to there. You can pause on that if you wanted. There's that. That. And that. And like I said, I don't know a lot about these settings. In fact, I know almost nothing. I don't care. I copied them from somebody else. So there's that. Now I'm gonna, if you see something I need to do, please feel free. Now what I'm gonna do in the image integration, I'm gonna go into the star align folder, and this is where we put all of our star align data. That's all scaled down to the same size. And I'm gonna highlight everything, but we're not gonna, because we want to integrate all of our HA data from the Horsehead. So let me uncheck the oxygen, because you would actually do this separately with oxygen. You want to integrate all your HA data to create your new master, and then you want to integrate all of your oxygen. But since our data is all the same field of view now, we can stack all of the old and new HA in one. So we're going to create a new HA master. I think I got it all there. All right. Open. And I unchecked the drizzle, so let's just hit this, and away we go. And after we do this, we would then run this procedure for the oxygen, like I mentioned before. Then we'll take a look at all the master data, which we'll do right now. Because I had already done this procedure. I've already got my masters prepared. So, all right. The image integration is done. I have my new masters. I ran the image integration twice. Once for HA and once for oxygen. And let's take a look at HA. Well, there it is. That's the HA. Because the larger field of view, or the more narrow field of view, excluded the flame nebula and that bright star, that's how we see it boxed off. So I won't be able to use this data on the outside because none of it exists from last year. So, and let's take a look at the oxygen. And that's what oxygen looks like. And you don't see any data here because I didn't even capture oxygen this year. This weather is so bad. So that's the data I've got to work with. And they're lined up. And so let's do our cropping first. Let's go into decrop here, dynamic crop, and let's peel away that larger field of view. Just like that. Let's bring this in right about, I don't want to lose that down there, that other nebula. Try and preserve that as much as I can. Okay, I can go, it's kind of close, right about there. All right, let's drag this over to oxygen. There's my new field of view, and let's execute this. All right, so there it is. Let's see, there's my new data. This is the combination of old and new HA, which brings my HA up to around probably 8 hours of HA on the Horsehead, but only about 32 minutes of oxygen on the Horsehead. Ugh, that's not going to be easy. So let's try. I rarely ever run decon anymore. It doesn't seem like it does very much. But let's try a dynamic background extraction on this and see what happens. Let's hit generate. That's all right. I like the placement of all those boxes. And let's hit subtract, discard, because I don't really need to see the background that's extracted. So let's just hit. Let's stretch this now and see what it looks like. Wow, look at that. I had already done this. I knew it was going to be strong like that. So what data would you rather work with here? This data or the data that's had a background extraction pulled? I think I'm going to work with the data on the right here. So let's just get rid of this. Normally I would be saving all of this stuff off, but you guys can do as you will. I'm sure you would too. And all right, so that's our Horsehead. I mean, that's our HA data. And there's not much hope now for oxygen. I'm not even going to try a background extraction. I'm just going to see what happens if I just leave this data as it. Well, let me try it. Let's just see what happens. But I don't think we're going to find anything new in it. There's just nothing to be found here. Do you see anything here? Tell you what, let's just go with it anyway. So I'll have a dynamic background extraction run on both of them, make them consistent. All right. I don't know, I'm kind of looking here. Is that a blemish up there? I thought I saw something. I don't know what that is. Huh. Maybe the flats weren't the greatest from the data back then. I'm not sure. But, okay, I'm not going to try and play around with the histogram on this data. I'm just going to do the shortcut. Drag this over to make it nonlinear. All right, now the oxygen is nonlinear. And now let's play around with the HA. Let's turn off the stretch and we'll play around with the, let's see, pull up a screen. Let's drag this middle one over all the way there. Because they say if you do the automatic stretch to the histogram with that STF, you're actually stretching the noise as well. But if you do it this way, you're at least you're not stretching the noise. I don't know. Most of the time, I don't even see the difference, but I'll do it this way anyway. And you're always going to want to drag this left one up to where that curve starts, and then this is the one you can sort of play around with. How does that look? Is that too much? Let's just try this for now. Okay, now let's go into the ShoaIP script. Everything is nonlinear. Now we can try this script. And I've already shown how you can either combine data, narrowband data using the ShoaIP script, or you can do it with pixel math. I have another video on that somewhere. And I'll just use this because I got used to it. I don't care. I'm fine with it. And the results were very, very close to the same between this script and pixel math anyway. And I'm going to stick HA in luminance. And even though this script is meant for the Hubble palette, let's just think of this as HA instead of SHO. Let's think of it as HA here, or the red channel here, the green channel there, and the blue channel here, RGB. And I'm going to stick HA in red, oxygen in blue, and oxygen's already there in green. And we want to hit the mixing luminance plus RGB. So let's go. Hit that. And I will be back as soon as this is finished. And here it is. The script is finished, and this is what it came up with. And we've combined data from the same telescope, but with different field of views. And I don't see, I mean, I think you would follow the exact same process if you had completely different telescopes, completely different cameras. I don't see why that wouldn't work. And at least I assume so. I would try it if I had data from a different camera. And from here, you can take it and really put your own spin on the final touches. I think if you ask 10 different people what they do in the end game to put the final finesse on their image, you'll probably hear 10 different ways of doing it. So I'll let you guys sort of go your own way, and everybody comes up with something that makes their pictures uniquely their own. And this is what I did. Maybe I increased the saturation a bit much, but for me, I kind of like images that pop. So maybe that's not the right color of red, but I kind of like it. I think it looks pretty cool, and I'm going to consider it finished, although it's finished for what I would have done with old and new data. I still want to capture LRGB data and see how it looks, and maybe even a Hubble palette version, although I would prefer the LRGB. I just need to wait for clear skies, and now the only problem is I missed a completely new moon cycle. I mean, now the moon is already probably 50 or 60% and getting worse, and I still can't get a clear sky. So anyway, that's all I got. And thanks for watching, and I will see you later.